A father is meant to be a shield, a place of safety, the person a child runs to when the world feels frightening. But sometimes, the greatest danger comes from the very person meant to protect them. Tonight, we uncover the darkest truth imaginable: fathers who became executioners. Not strangers, not intruders, but men trusted with a child's life who chose violence instead. And these are the stories that stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Case 1, Daniel Gunter. Somerset, February 2024. Brendan Staden was just 2 weeks old. Born prematurely at 33 weeks, he was tiny, fragile enough to fit across a pair of adult hands. Nurses described him as delicate, weighing less than 2 bags of sugar. His life had barely begun. From the moment he arrived in hospital, staff felt uneasy. His father, Daniel Gunter, didn't show the tenderness you'd expect from a new parent. Instead, he was rough, impatient, defensive. Social services were already involved before Brendan was even born, questioning whether his parents could cope. Gunter seemed more worried about housing than about his newborn son. Staff warned him again and again to be gentler. Those warnings were not enough. On February 5th, 2024, Brendan's mother alerted nurses that her baby felt cold. When doctors rushed in, it was already too late. Brendan had been dead for at least 30 minutes. As medics fought to save him, Daniel Gunter and Brendan's mother walked outside for a cigarette. The injuries were horrific. Brendan's skull was shattered, his neck broken, his limbs fractured, bruising covered his body. A medical expert testified that the injuries were consistent with a baby being swung by the ankles and smashed against a hard surface multiple times. There was no part of Brendan that hadn't been damaged. Police arrested Gunter outside the hospital. He denied everything, but the jury didn't believe him. In July 2025, Daniel Gunter was unanimously convicted of murder at Bristol Crown Court. Brendan's mother was acquitted. Brendan's grandfather later said, "We've been robbed of a lifetime of memories. No first steps, no first words, just silence." A safeguarding review later revealed missed warning signs and serious failures in care. Brendan lived for 2 weeks and suffered for far too much of it. Case 2, Simon Vickers. Darlington, July 5th, 2024. What started as laughter ended in blood. Simon Vickers was in the kitchen with his 14-year-old daughter, Scarlett, and her mother. They'd been joking around, throwing grapes, tickling, messing with kitchen tongs. It should have been a normal family moment. Instead, Scarlett died on the kitchen floor. She had been stabbed 11 centimeters deep, straight through her chest, piercing her heart and lung. Simon claimed it was an accident, a freak moment. A knife waved without thinking. But forensic experts were clear. That wound required force, a firm grip, a deliberate movement. That night, Simon had been drinking wine and smoking cannabis. Prosecutors said he lost his temper and in a brief, explosive moment, killed his own child. Scarlett's mother stood by him. She insisted he would never hurt their daughter. But the evidence told another story. Simon Vickers had a past conviction for wounding with intent. In January 2025, after a 10-day trial, the jury convicted him of murder by a 10-2 majority. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, with a minimum of 15 years. Even then, the sentence divided opinion. Some believed it too lenient, others saw it as a tragic accident. What remains undeniable is this: a playful moment turned fatal in seconds. Scarlett never made it to adulthood. Her life ended where she should have been safest, at home with her father. Case 3, Urfan Sharif. Woking, Surrey, August 2023. Sara Sharif was 10 years old. For months, she had been beaten, burned, strangled, and tortured inside her own home. When police found her body, officers were left shaken. Sara had nearly 100 injuries: broken bones, burns from an iron, bite marks, bruises old and new. A radiologist confirmed her neck injuries showed manual strangulation. The abuse wasn't sudden. It was systematic. Her father, Urfan Sharif, had won custody in 2019 despite a long history of violence. By April 2023, he pulled Sara out of school, claiming he would homeschool her. In reality, he erased her from public view. No teachers, no safeguarding eyes. No chance to escape. On August 8th, Sara died. The next morning, Sharif and his partner boarded one-way flights to Pakistan. Before leaving, Urfan called police and said, "I beat her too much. I didn't mean to kill her." A note was left near her body, trying unsuccessfully to soften the truth. After an international manhunt, the adults returned to the UK and were arrested. At trial, the scale of cruelty was laid bare. In December 2024, Urfan Sharif was convicted of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 40 years. The case ignited national outrage. How did a child known to social services vanish so completely? How many warnings were ignored? Sara's name is now attached to proposed legal reforms. Sara's law, aimed at preventing children from being hidden from protection again. Her suffering was not inevitable. It was allowed. Case 4, Jordan Monahan. Blackpool, November 2019. Logan Mwangi was 5 years old. A bright, affectionate child who loved Pokemon and superheroes. Teachers described him as polite and gentle, the kind of boy who still held an adult's hand when crossing the road. But Logan's short life ended in unimaginable brutality. His mother, Angharad Williamson, had begun a relationship with Jordan Monahan, a man with a violent past and a history of controlling behavior. Despite warnings from professionals, Monahan was allowed to live in the family home. Behind closed doors, Logan became a target. Monahan subjected him to sustained physical abuse, punches, kicks, and beatings for minor misbehavior. Williamson knew. She didn't stop it. On the night of July 31st, 2021, Logan was beaten again. This time, it didn't stop. Monahan punched and kicked the 5-year-old repeatedly, snapping bones and rupturing organs. When Logan became unresponsive, Monahan didn't call for help. Instead, in the early hours of the morning, he carried Logan's body to a nearby river and dumped him into the water, hoping it would look like an accident. But the injuries told the truth. Logan had suffered multiple broken bones, severe head trauma, internal bleeding. The river didn't kill him. The beating did. CCTV, forensic evidence, and witness testimony dismantled every lie. In April 2022, Jordan Monahan was convicted of murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 40 years. Williamson was convicted of causing or allowing the death of a child and jailed for 15 years. Logan's father later said he trusted the adults in his life, and every single one of them failed him. Logan Mwangi should have grown up. Instead, he became a symbol of catastrophic safeguarding failure. Case 5, Thomas Hughes. Anglesey, January 2018. Sometimes a crime doesn't end when a life is taken. Sometimes it continues through lies. Thomas Hughes was 38 years old, a father of 5, living in North Wales. He was known for his temper, his heavy drinking, and his chaotic lifestyle. On the night of January 5th, 2018, Hughes was at home with his 7-year-old son, Jack, and 2 of Jack's siblings. That night, Jack wet the bed. What followed was horrifying. Hughes lost control. He punched Jack repeatedly, struck him with force that fractured his skull, and caused catastrophic brain injury. Instead of calling for help, Hughes waited. By the time emergency services were contacted, Jack was already beyond saving. Doctors described his injuries as consistent with a severe beating, not a fall, despite Hughes' claims that Jack had slipped. The truth unraveled quickly. Medical experts testified that Jack had been assaulted over a period of time, not in a single moment. His injuries were deliberate, repeated. In December 2018, Thomas Hughes was convicted of murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, with a minimum term of 21 years. Jack's mother later said, "He was just a little boy. He didn't deserve any of it." Jack Hughes was 7 years old. His life ended because of anger that was never checked and violence that was never stopped. 5 fathers, 5 children, 5 lives taken where love should have lived. These were not accidents, not misunderstandings, not moments that could be brushed aside. They were failures, personal, social, and systemic. Children do not choose their parents, and when protection fails, the cost is irreversible. If these stories affected you, you're not alone. And if you want more cases explored with honesty and care, let me know which direction you want to go next. Because remembering these children is the least we owe them.